Hey guys, happy Monday. This is Tech Tip Q&A. I'm going to wait for everyone to join us. Hey Nessa. Let me get Christina on here so we can start answering your questions. Hello. Hey.
Hi guys.
Hi. Happy Monday. It is sweater weather.
It's so funny. It's freezing in my house at all times. Like it's not ever warm here. So I have a sweater on, but now for some reason in here, maybe because I have the door shut, but like it's not cold.
Now you're like, ah. Yeah, and I'm sitting outside. You're gonna hear like the rain and crows and stuff. It's outside, it's sweater, jacket, and
I
large
love all
shawl
the
weather.
things you're wearing. Those
All
things
my
are so
knits.
beautiful. I love them.
Thank you. Hey everybody. Tell us how you're all doing. Happy Monday. So this is our once a month tech talk Q&A or tech tip Q&A, whatever we called it. I'm Sarah Walworth. I am a knitting tech editor.
I'm Christina McGrath. I'm a knitting tech editor.
And we are broadcasting live from our homes where it may be a little rowdy here. We're not sure. So we open up our live once a month to answer your questions about tech editing, about knitting patterns, about questions you have about spreadsheets or anything else. Um, and Creative Me DK says, hi from Denmark, from Kitten. Do you guys not have summer and wintertime? We do. So right now in my part of the northern hemisphere, it's moving into winter, so we're in fall. So autumn. Same with you guys, right? I could
Yeah,
see your
we're in fall,
trees.
but we're farther north than Sarah, so it's colder here sooner.
You're about a month ahead of us, so my
Yeah.
trees haven't started to change color yet. And you can see behind Christina, hers have.
Yeah,
So
this isn't even the prettiest, like it's so much prettier over there, but I can't,
yeah.
they won't show if I sit that direction. It won't. It's because the light is bad.
So we're here. We're tech editors and we're ready to answer your questions. We've gotten a lot of good questions ahead of time that we'd like to answer.
We did
If you
get some fun
We
questions.
got some fun questions. So if you have a question for us, if you want to jump in or ask us something or you have a comment, please throw it into the comments below and we'll be sure to address it in our talk. Christina, you want to hit us up with the first one? I know you
Yeah,
prepared.
I thought we'd start with questions that are about pattern writing and design and then do the fun ones after.
Okay,
Um,
the fun ones like spreadsheet ones.
so the first question is, how about short rows to lift the back neck in children's baby patterns? Are they common or not? Do you think they're necessary or a good idea? Um,
What did you come up with for an answer
well,
for that?
I I think that well, first of all, there's a couple ways to raise the back neck, right? You can work short rows, or this is whether you're working top down, bottom up, whatever. You can work short rows, or you can simply do shaping and work the the neck and the shoulders without working the front at all, or shape the front differently so that you don't like get choked, right?
Mm-hmm.
But some children's patterns don't have any of that going on. Like patterns that are worked from the top down just start and they do the shaping equally all around, and there's not any of that. And I think that is because of like most I will say that most do, like most patterns that I see do, even for children and babies, have shaping in the back neck.
Mm-hmm.
Short rows, most of them do, some don't. And I think that for really small tiny people, that might not be as necessary. My daughter, for example, there's short rows on her shorts I made her, for example, and they're really not necessary. Like when she wears them, the short rows are all bunched up. My son's sweater, the back neck has short rows, and it's the same thing with him. Yes, it's good because it brings the collar down, but they bunch up. he maybe didn't need as many. And I think that that's where it's really good to be thinking that kind of way when you're doing the designing. You're not going to need as many short rows for somebody like Ben, who's this big, as you will for a larger child, right? And but not that he doesn't need them, but didn't maybe need as many. And you can also just do shaping if you don't want to work short rows, or your knitters don't like short rows. You can shape the front differently to allow there to be more fabric in the back. So I don't know that they're always necessary, maybe, but it is most often something is done to raise the back neck.
And so let's
What do
talk.
you think?
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about why we raise the back neck.
Oh, so that and part of
Yeah.
the reason is to make room for your shoulders, and part of the reason is,
Well,
like so
so
you don't get choked. And I
right,
think with the kids' sweaters, even if you don't want to work short rows, you kind of have to do something so that they're not,
right. It's just the function of the way that the human body is
right,
shaped. Our front of our neck has like this clavicle bone, and our neck is shaped a little bit forward. So we have to have more room depth wise on the front than in the back
right,
on a sweater. And if you don't have it, then you're going to get, it's going to choke you up here. And I
right,
kind of remember some sweaters from when I was a kid that did that, where there was no shaping and it was like you're always pulling it down. So I think there's two functions as a designer that you have to think about is the body size, like Christina said, on a baby or a child, or even an older child, like closer to teenage, you may not need very much. You may need just a smidge just because their body is smaller. They don't have as
right,
deep of a drop here to the clavicle bone
right,
on the front of their throat than an adult does. The other function that you have to think about is gauge. So if you're working a sweater that's at a really fine gauge, you may be able to insert more shaping rows than you would on something, let's say a worsted weight. I don't know if you knit a child's or a baby's garment in bulky, but definitely children's garments are usually knit in a DK or a worsted. So there's, like she said, there's two ways to do it. And a lot of times on children's garments, the back is just shaped square.
right,
It's just like there's no shaping at the back. And that automatically raises it up. Then if the front has a little bit of a curve or a shape to it or a V or whatever, then that automatically drops it and you don't have to put in short rows.
right.
But if it's like in the round circular yoke or something like that, you may want to put one or two in just to drop that front a little bit to keep that poor kid from going all the
Yeah.
time.
Like it's not always used, but I think it's I do think it's a good idea. I mean, like Sarah's saying, that's just the way we're built. And even if
Right.
you only use a little bit of it or a little extra shaping, it's helpful.
Yeah. And it can be done not with short rows. It can be
Yeah.
done just by
Work.
shaping
Yeah.
a usual shaped collar that's got a little bit of a curve to it for
Hmm.
a crew neck, like you
Right.
would
It
do
does
on a
not.
regular.
Right. It doesn't have to be short rows, but there needs to be some. It's a good idea, but there's
It's a
just
good
some
idea.
extra in the back so that the front is better. Or even if you just shape the neckline differently,
Hmm.
you know,
Yes.
to give a little more room up here.
So, and there's other ways to do it. So if your back is totally straight, you also can bring forward two parts to make the front go lower too. So you can like do a saddle type
Well, and in
shape
circular
or
yoke sweaters,
hmm
short rows are probably your best
I think so. In
bet,
short, yeah. Yeah, and
best
definitely
choice.
in
Even if
circular
you just did
yoke.
a couple of them.
Yeah. And short rows aren't as scary. If you instruct it well, people will be able to do it just if they especially if they trust your pattern instructions.
Right.
I think it's okay to throw them in. So, that's our opinion. I hope that helps. That was from Jessica, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And lots of times on raglans, they'll be the shoulders and back will be worked before the front is ever worked. So
Yes.
that will all be happening, and that will build up your back neck, and then you'll add the front in later to continue the sweater,
Right.
a top-down raglan, you know, and even the bottom up, you'll do all of this, and then
Hmm.
you'll stop the front and do more on the back and shoulders. And so that's often done in those kinds of sweaters.
So bottom line is, we think it helps, but it doesn't need to be as much as an adult. It may only need to be one or two rows or one or two
Right,
short rows. So,
right.
or 2 to 3 to 4 shaping rows. So
Mm.
you'll have to play around with it with your gauge, and maybe even do a little swatch and see what works best.
Yeah, do a swatch, see what works, see what, I mean, I always think this is something that is so good to talk about when you're doing testing of your patterns.
Hmm.
Things
I
like
agree.
this. I mean, things like fit, things like real world things, things like how they, things that you're not going to get from, you know, doing it without on paper without hearing someone's feedback. And all the questions
Yes.
about fit are so good for testing questions.
Yes. Exactly. I totally agree with that. Pick your tester's brain about how they prefer it to be, because sometimes they're your super fans too. They love
Most of
everything
the
you put
time,
out.
right, right, right.
What's our next question?
Um, so this one is, oh, now I'm on the wrong thing. Hold on. Okay. Could you talk about charts when you'd consider it non-negotiable to include them?
Okay, so we are talking about knitting, not crochet.
Correct.
Crochet is a whole nother animal, because charts often are not included in crochet patterns. So I can't give my opinion on that because I'm still learning about crochet charts.
No, I
But
don't know anything about crochet.
yeah,
We just talk about knitting. Yeah.
so we're just talking about knitting here, just to be clear. Um, I think the non-negotiable number one is color work.
That's what I said. Because here, like, the
Ah!
bottom line is that there's nothing that's non-negotiable. Like, that's not my decision. There's nothing. If you want to include charts or you don't, that's totally up to you. And I'm not ever going to tell someone they have to include a chart, or shouldn't include a chart, or have to include a chart. But because but charts, that said, can make so many things easier. Like all
Yes.
kinds of complicated design, like cables and lace and brioche, really benefit from there being a chart. But I totally am with you. If I had to pick and I had to put my foot down, I would absolutely say for color work, you need it to be charted. And the reason is because, for me anyway, I do not like tedious instructions. Drive me crazy. And color work written instructions are like the height of,
Of tedium.
you know,
We're
it's
super
so
opinionated
annoying to
here,
read.
so
It's so annoying it's annoying to read. It's annoying to work from. Ugh, written
yeah.
instruction. Honestly, for color work, I'd be like color work charts and no written.
Yes. Exactly. Okay. Yeah, so here's the thing is that um, color work charts are pretty much, it's you don't even need written instructions for that.
You don't.
You would just use your regular charts to indicate how to work the patterning. So
Right.
that said, the um, the other thing that might be helpful, where it's non-negotiable, is in another form of color work. So for instance, mosaic knitting. That's maybe not non-negotiable, but where you have
Well, for mosaic knitting, that's
yeah,
an, well, that's
yeah,
there's a
it's
couple
still
ways to
color
do it.
work.
Yeah, it's still color work, and so it's helpful to have a
Mm-hmm.
chart. There are specifically mosaic charts that are very different from regular knitting charts. They're not, they don't look the same or are read the same, and sometimes, a lot of the times, people don't even use them. Um, because if someone is unfamiliar with how to use a mosaic chart, you do need to have some instruction or at least a link or something in your pattern to let people
Right.
know where they can go to learn how to read the chart if they haven't encountered
Yes.
one before, because they're not seen. You don't use them, not you don't see them as often.
Yes.
Unless you like have a book on mosaic knitting or whatever. But even mosaic charts, I think it's so different. Like you're saying, the written is not complicated because it's all slip stitches. So it's
Well,
not a tedious, it's not tedious instructions though, is what I'm saying.
It can be, but it isn't always. It can be
Mm,
better. It can be written so it's not tedium.
mm.
But I think that's the only example I could think of where it's non-negotiable, where you
I think
had
color work.
just stranded color work, Fair Isle.
Yeah, that kind of, yeah.
You're just there's no. I don't know anybody who does a written instruction for that unless they are providing an accessible pattern, and that's usually in a different format, in a different file, even.
Well, I
Um,
have edited patterns that have the written color work instructions. And it's just, I would not want to work from that.
yeah. So if you have watched our previous tech tip talk on charts, we talked about when to include charts, when not, what our grand opinions were on it. Generally speaking, we like all patterns to be accessible to all knitters. So if you include a chart, you should include written instructions. Now, the caveat for that is you probably wouldn't for color work. At least I haven't. I don't know. I haven't seen it.
I have seen
Um,
written instructions for color work, and that also include a chart, but very,
very
not
rarely.
often, very
Yeah.
rarely. And I think most people don't use them.
Yeah.
They're really not simpler to read. They're not easier to understand.
Right.
They're confusing. Not
Un-
confusing, but just tedious. Like it's ridiculous.
unless you're visually impaired and you need the written
The
text
letters,
to
yeah.
be able to understand and work the color work.
Right.
So that said, if you include a chart, let's say for cables or lace or some other kind of patterning, do make sure that you include written instructions if you have the space and the capacity for it, so that those knitters who do not work from charts can have the written instructions to work along with it. So I suppose we're repeating ourselves on this, but I think it's a great question. Other than color work, I don't think any chart is non-negotiable. You can choose to include it or not. Knowing that, in our experience, about 50% of knitters love charts, 50% really don't. So I guess that's all I have to say on it.
But I think definitely think for stranding color work, having a chart is the way to go.
Yep, I'm there with you.
It's the clearest way to do it.
Okay. Any other
Yes, so a couple more.
questions?
This one is a tech editing question. As a new tech editor, what is the best way to get consistent clients? I have done a couple of edits for a designer friend, but I'm stuck on how to move forward. The first thing I was thinking was like, even if it will feel awkward, like ask your designer friend to refer you. I mean, it's
Yes.
awkward to ask, but if you're friends, like that's where I would start. Ask her to refer you. I mean, the biggest way you're going to get clients is word of mouth. But in order to like have the word of mouth train going, you need clients, right?
Yes.
So I mean, you did too. Like for us, we built our businesses here,
Referring each other.
you know,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
referring to other tech editors referring to us and us referring to them, but having a presence on social media, being present and like, finding designers that you like what they do and
Mm-hmm.
just trying to be generally present online, commenting, being helpful
Mm-hmm.
and, you know, a cheerleader and sharing and being helpful,
Yes.
being
So
present and getting to know, having like a presence there. And it's like not a huge presence. I mean, it doesn't have to be crazy. I mean, you don't need to have like a gazillion followers or any of
nope.
that. It's just finding the places where the designers are and answering their questions. Find out a lot about the things that the people you want to work for want to know about
Exactly.
and try to answer their questions, you know?
Be helpful where people are asking questions. So there's a lot of different ways that you can.
Yeah, not
It,
just Instagram. I mean, there's a lot of.
yeah. So here's the thing. If you're going to have a business as a tech editor, then you need to you have to spend a certain amount of time every day on your business. And it's not the work that we want to be doing. We want to be editing, or
Right.
we want to be working with designers and so whatever capacity. We want to be drawing charts and doing those kind of things. And so the marketing of ourselves can be tricky and it can be a stretch for us. It can be uncomfortable, especially if you're an introvert. So you have to push yourself a little bit. There are a few resources that are really great. Uh, Tara Swiger, Swiger, has a fantastic book called Market Yourself. That can be a beginning if you want to look that up. That was a help for me when I was getting started.
Oh, I agree.
Um,
And she has a podcast too, and
mhm.
like you just go back and look at the titles. I mean, she has years of podcasts, and they're all helpful, and they're
Every single
all
one of them.
relatable to what we're doing.
Yes.
Running your own business, and it like because it doesn't have to be sleazy. It doesn't have to be.
No.
It's not at all like that. It's not at
Right.
all yucky or salesy or anything like that.
So
It's not.
I have a few. Oh, can you repeat that name?
Oh,
Tara, T A
I'll
R
write it
A.
in.
Oh, good. Put it in the comments. Swiger, Swiger. She has a podcast. Um,
Explore your enthusiasm.
I keep wanting to say Curb Your Enthusiasm, but that's the wrong show.
No, explore your
Explore Your
enthusiasm.
Enthusiasm. And her podcast is several hundred episodes long, and all of them can apply to a creative small business, which
Hmm.
is what you're in. So, number one is be authentic. Be who you are. Don't try to be somebody different because who people are going to be hiring you in your services is you.
Hmm.
So, in your social media, make sure your profile is up to date, describes what you do, and also links to where people can get a hold of you. Make sure your direct messages is turned on. I get so many inquiries and contacts through my direct messages on Instagram. I'm not saying you need to turn on your notifications on your phone or anything like that, but do be faithful to check it regularly for people who want to find you and get a hold of you. Also, make sure you have a landing page that's not on social media, whether it be
Yes.
just a simple web page. It does not have to be a website. It can just be a place where people can find you and where you can start to list testimonials from your clients. And um, make sure that one designer friend that you did some work for, ask her for a testimonial. Ask her for,
Absolutely.
what did you like about how I worked? What did you like about what I did for you? And how can I improve? And use that information and say, can I quote you on social media? Can I quote you on my webpage? And put that information in. People will not hire you if they don't know what you do. And if you aren't talking about yourself and what you do, and you're not being helpful in any of the spaces that the designers are in.
Right.
So this takes a little bit of work. You could just set aside 15 minutes a day and think about how can I post every day something that's helpful for designers, or post a testimonial of a client that I did great work for, or post about I have open spaces on my calendar. Here's how you
Hmm.
get a hold of me. This is the services that I provide. So, in other words, every day you're showing up, you're being
When I was
present.
first starting my business way back, that was what I did. I had like a schedule for the week
Hmm.
of what I posted each whatever day of the week. Like every Monday, I had a call to action post where I said that I had openings available and how to get in touch with me, where to find out about it. I would have
Right.
a day when I would post a tip, like I would post a tip once a week. And then I had a day where I'd post my knitting and talk about a particular element in knitting that I liked or that I was working on. And then I would post like, what was the other one you said? I don't remember.
I don't remember.
I don't either. But I tried to think of how I could show up every day
Yes.
in a way that I could be consistent about. And I
And it's
just
authentic
made
to
a
who
point.
you are.
Oh, of course. And
Yeah.
you really do have to, I mean, I don't know, this could all just be me talking because I have a lot of self-doubt, but you have to not worry about what other people are doing or feel like you have to be doing it some kind of way because you saw somebody doing it that way, so that must be the way. Like Sarah said, they're hiring you, and who you are is going to come through, and that's what they're going to want, and that's who they're going to want to work with, and that's how you're going to find the people that you want to work with and who want to work with you.
So
So always be authentic, absolutely, and kind and helpful when you can be.
that's it. And the other aspect of this is what you're doing behind the scenes. When you're doing a job, you need to do your very, very best work. In other words, don't approach your work in a halfway manner. Do your very best work and learn from your mistakes and get feedback from your clients. Ask them for referrals. And also, behind the scenes, make sure that you are where other tech editors are. This is not, we think it's a solitary profession, but I could not do my job without my tech editing colleagues. I just couldn't because I need help sometimes. I can't figure out a problem. I need to refer my work to someone
Right.
else because we're not a good fit. So maybe my client needs to work with a different kind of tech editor, or maybe they need a pattern writer. Sometimes I need a second tech editor to help check my work when I'm doing a more complex job. So the places where other tech editors are and hang out is where you also want to insert yourself because sometimes jobs get posted there.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can
Yes,
show, hey, I'm available. The
correct.
place where Christina and I are, if you are on Facebook, is called the Tech Editors Water Cooler. It is a private group and it is only for tech editors.
Right.
And that is where we kind of hang out when we need support and help.
Well, and
Um,
it's been great to have that kind of community because
yes,
we work at home by ourselves. Like it can be really
yes,
isolating. And
it
it's
can
really
be.
nice to have people to ask questions like Sarah said, or be able to refer to other people or talk to that know exactly what you're talking about. Um, Also, the Tech Editor Hub is a group for
Yes.
designers and tech editors. So you're not going to go
Mm-hmm.
in there and, say only whatever, but it's a place that designers will often ask for help and you can be helpful. And it's a place that they're going to ask, post jobs that they need done lots of times. And you can also post, answer for designers who post that they need a tech editor. I just
Mm-hmm.
made that a really complicated sentence, but you heard what I'm saying. So that's the Tech Editor Hub on Facebook, where people sometimes do go in there inquiring for help from a tech editor.
So that is the key, is to realize that this is a community
Right.
and you are not competing against other tech editors for jobs. That actually, it's better to think of this as I'm in a pool of tech editors and we're all working together and there's plenty of jobs to go around. So make sure
Because
that
there are.
yes, there's so much work. So don't feel like you have to grasp for work. Put yourself in a position where you are helpful, where you are present, where people know what you do, and realizing that the algorithm may not show everyone your posts. So post multiple times, post in your stories that you're working on your spreadsheets, or post, whatever it is that matches your person, and just be present, and word will get around. If you do good work, word will get around that you are available and you are the editor to hire. So I hope that's helpful. Do you have anything else to add to that, Christina? I think we covered it
Just
pretty
that,
thoroughly.
yeah, I think we really did. We always seem to have a lot to say about tech editing.
I wonder why.
I wonder why. The only thing is, like, I found that the one thing I found very difficult to do, and I don't know that I even ever really did it. I do have a place on my website where testimonials are listed that clients have written about me that I post on my website. But as far as like sharing on social media a testimonial or something that somebody said about why they liked working with me, I I'm not I I'm not
You don't do that.
I can't. I find that very
That's totally
difficult
fine.
to do.
Yeah.
But I do know that that's my problem. Like that's just my own personal hang up that I need to get over because because
Oh.
it is a helpful thing to do and it is
Mm-hmm.
useful. And those people who say those things about working with you and what they like about you are happy for everybody to know that.
Right.
And it's a good thing to share and talk, share.
Oh, I thought of something else. always be learning too.
Mm.
If there is something that you want to specialize in, really dig deep. Dive deep into your references, learn things, and then when you come across a nugget of information that you think would help the designers who specialize in that part of designing, post it, talk about it,
Right.
show that you know your stuff. That actually can be more helpful than anything in
Hmm.
attracting clients, is showing that you have some base knowledge in the area that you love to edit in.
Yeah, posting tips is a great idea. And, using hashtags when you post tips
Mhm.
so that people looking for those things can find you. People do search hashtags. Like, I don't always, but a lot. People use
Yes.
hashtags a lot.
Yes.
So having your hashtags in there that relate to what you're talking about is a good idea. And posting tips is a good idea. And learning the things that people want to know that you want to work with.
Exactly.
Sarah's really good at this. Sarah's like a resource nerd, like
Yeah,
totally obsessed with
yeah, but
resources, and she
it's
collects
all the
them.
stuff
But
I wanted to know.
yes, but she collects them very effectively. Like
Mm.
she finds something, like she was just saying, that she learns, and she records it, puts it somewhere, and does not lose that information.
Mhm.
So, like for example, on her website, she's got a whole page of resources
Yeah, which is
that
in
she
my
adds to
link
and
if you
updates.
guys need it.
It's in
So,
her bio, and she adds to and updates that. And she probably has God knows more on her computer and on a notebook on her desk where she keeps track of everything that she learns. And, she's just a total data person. And that's a good idea to keep track of what you learn. So, like, I have a lot of bookmarks and a lot of
yes.
books about what I
Because
need, so that when I do come up on something or I need to learn more about something, I know where to go to get it, or I know who. And the
that's
Tech
it.
Editor's Water Cooler is another great place to know where to go to ask about it if you don't know
Yeah,
something, you know.
exactly. Or, you call up your friendly tech editor, like I
And the
do. I call
right,
up Christina and go, how about that brioche? Because I'm still learning it because I'm not into brioche. I need to learn it, but
and
I'm
when
not
you're,
there yet.
and the more you're working, the more you're going to find out what you want to do and collect all those resources.
Yeah.
We
So
did
think
get
of,
one last question. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
go ahead. What's the question?
It's just for. I think it's a fun one. It's She said, I keep looking at the wrong paper. She said, "What's your favorite formula in Excel?" With like little laughing face.
So, if for those of you who don't know, Excel is the number one tool that we tech editors use for checking patterns. We always start our tech edits by building a spreadsheet. I'd say in the last year, I've only edited one pattern not on a spreadsheet, and that was a simple hat. So, yeah,
Well, I
spreadsheets are
do. I know.
crucial.
I don't use. I almost never use a spreadsheet for anything in one size.
Yes, in one
Unless it's like,
size.
I mean, if it was like a sweater in one size, I would probably need to use a spreadsheet. But for shawls that are just in one
Hmm.
size, I 90% of the time just use a calculator and do it myself.
So, but for multiple size patterns like garments
I mean, even
or
hats or socks or
hats,
mittens or anything that's in more than one size,
spreadsheet.
it's a lot of numbers to do on your own, and it's really wasting your client's time. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
So we
yeah.
use Excel and we build a spreadsheet for multiple sizes because it's easy then to drag across the cell to check the sizing or to check the math.
And in any
So,
pattern where there's a lot happening, I mean,
mhm,
just, you need
exactly.
spreadsheets to count all those numbers. So, what's
And
your favorite? You have lots, don't you?
yeah, and Excel is pretty powerful. So you could put in formulas and have it do some work for you. Um, let's see, what is my favorite? My favorite function is the naming. I name cells. So, and this I learned from a friend who's an Excel guru. She's like, why aren't you naming cells? So what I do is I'll click when I set up my spreadsheet with stitch and row gauge or stitch and round gauge over however many inches. That cell, I will click up in the top left-hand corner and name it stitch or name it row. So that because everything in a knitting pattern is based on gauge, that's the measurements, whether or not it's going to fit a certain body part. So then all I have to do is if I'm trying to figure out if the measurements match, then I can just name the cell. In other words, I can go the certain number of stitches divided by and type in stitch, and it will pull that information from that cell. So that's my favorite, is just the naming. I think it's saved. Oh yeah, Ruth's like, you
Ruth,
can name
you can name
cells?
cells? What is this?
Yes, I know.
What
What
is
is this
this?
magic? Yes, go look up naming cells. It changed, it revolutionized, it shortened, it just made everything easier because I used to hand type in the gauge. And then, of course, my fingers are fumbly and I would type in the wrong gauge. And then it would mess up my spreadsheet checking. My spreadsheet would be wrong. So
Well, see,
naming
and I'm
kind of,
the opposite. Like typing in or remembering the name of the cell and typing in the name
mm-hmm.
of the cell and selecting it or whatever is like I just type in the number and I keep the number bookmarked at the top of the page so it's always there. And I
Yes.
don't name the cell.
So
Oh
in
yeah.
there, and that's the thing about spreadsheets is it can be personalized to the way that you like to think and work.
Mm-hmm.
I like it that way because I tend to mistype things. So I like to make things firm. The other aspect that makes things firm is dollar sign. So when you insert a dollar sign, let's say that you want to always pull a previous cell and you don't want it to change. Like, you know how when you like move on down in a spreadsheet, it will keep moving on down whatever you're pulling for that formula. Well, if you want to keep pulling that same thing and not have it change no matter where you are, you put a dollar sign in front of the address of that cell. And then it will always keep pulling that same cell, which is awesome. If you have a lot of calculations or if you have a lot, like say for instance, you always want to grab a certain calculated amount. So those are my two favorites. I know it's a little bit advanced. So look up dollar sign and naming cells if you want to add that to your spreadsheet work. What's yours, Christina?
Way simpler.
Okay, but simpler's good.
My
Go.
favorite, well, my favorite thing about Excel is things that make my head hurt that I instinctively feel like is not a calculator job. Like is not a spreadsheet job, but something that I would just do in my head. You know, things that I would just do in my head that Excel can do more easily. Um, I really like stupid stuff like roundup. I love
Yeah,
roundup
I
because I
love
can round
Roundup.
up 20 numbers and not do every single one of them in my head while I'm checking the pattern. So that's
Hmm.
totally stupid, but I love that because it eliminates something that I'm already doing that I can't help but do. Like I can't help it, right? So
Yep.
roundup I really like. The other thing I really like is I totally love, and this isn't like a specific formula or have a name or anything, but I just love that I can make these really long equations with multiple functions and get my answer for
Yep.
things that make my brain hurt that I would do in my head. Like figuring out the ratio, how many, like if you're, how
Right.
many stitches you're picking up
Stitches.
in a
Mm-hmm.
certain number of rows, 2 rows for 2 stitches for every 3 rows or whatever. And I can just do that like in a second. And I don't have to have my brain hurt. Like I don't have to figure that out in my head. I
Mm-hmm.
just, so that's the kind of stuff I like doing is things that I just can't help but do by myself. When you have to do
Yes.
it for a whole ton of sizes, it's
Yes.
really nice to just like not have to do it.
Yeah. So if you're interested in learning how to use spreadsheets as a designer or as a tech editor, I highly recommend going to Edie Ekman's website. And I think she has a class, and you might be able to jump in and ask her about providing that class again for spreadsheet, using spreadsheet as a designer. It's very valuable and essential tool as a tech editor. So,
And I believe it's also listed on Sarah's resource page on her
I don't know
website.
if it is or not. I should go look. Oh, yes. So you can go to the link in my bio, and I do have a resource page of everything that I've gathered over the last few years of things that, and I use it, it's my own personal resource page. So
Right.
if you don't see something on there that you want to know about, please ask and I'll add it. Um, anyway, so is that all our questions for today?
Yeah.
Do you guys
Yep.
have
That's all
any
the questions we got.
questions? Come on, throw some in the comments if you have questions for us. We have a little bit of time. I think
I
we've got
know.
like a few
It makes
minutes.
me feel bad. Like I mean, it makes me feel bad when we don't take the whole hour, like that I didn't answer something well
Oh
enough.
no, yeah, then no, it's good. It's good. We love to answer your questions if you have anything about tech editing or knitting design or spreadsheets, or anything about that you'd like to ask a tech editor. We
Hmm.
are available. So throw it into the comments and we'll answer real quick before we sign off for this month. So I will be saving this recording and uploading it to my YouTube channel. And in a month, we'll be doing this again. So every month now will
The
come
third
on
Monday of every
third
month.
Monday. Now this month is the fourth Monday, just because we have previous. Uh,
Yeah, this month got messed up because we had it was like the month of everything going on
yeah,
Mondays for me and
October.
for Sarah. It was crazy.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
normally it'll be the third Monday of every month at noon Eastern.
and if you want to listen to or watch our previous tech tip talks that we did this last spring and summer, we covered a lot of ground
Yes.
over a period of quite a few weeks. You can go to my IGTV here on my profile or to my YouTube channel, and we've saved all of them there.
The YouTube
Um,
channel is linked in my
it's
bio too. So you can
and
go there and find that.
yeah, and I am working on a written help for all of you knitting designers from Tech Tip Talks, to help you get your pattern ready for tech editing and for release with fewer issues. So we're working on that in the background, but oh, it's tedious. It does take a while. So we're getting there. Knitting Daddy says this is cool. Thanks for sharing your knowledge. We're very happy to do this. This is part of why we're tech editors, is we love to help. And we love to help designers get their patterns in tip-top shape. So if you guys don't have any more questions, do you have anything else, Christina?
Um, no, because now that we're doing this Q&A thing and we're not coming up with like a topic to talk about, because when we did the Tech Tip Talk, we had a topic for every week
Yes, we
that we
did.
talked about, and then we also, of course, answered questions that were sometimes related, sometimes not. But
Right.
now that we're doing this Q&A, we're just answering questions. I don't like come prepared to talk about anything except the questions that we get. Um,
And we had some great ones today. So if you're
mhm.
just joining us now, please watch later on once it's uploaded to my
Yeah.
IGTV. And we'll see you again in a month. Well, 3 weeks.
Yeah, it'll be 3 weeks now that we're a week late this month.
Yes. We'll see you in the end of November. You guys take care of yourselves. Be safe and be
Thanks for joining us.
happy knitting. Bye.
Bye.